Hello, this is Wes Bridle, and this is another Kingdom Calling Economic Update video. All these short videos are updates on what's going on in the economy in the world over the last month. To follow on the Coming Storm video, which we put out, that shows you big picture what's happening in the economy, what's going to be happening over the next decade. So if you haven't seen that video, I strongly recommend you go watch that. It's free. There's a link right next to this video to do so. I'm going to change gears now and put out two videos on signs that hyperinflation is coming. There's no definition of hyperinflation, but it just means severe inflation is life-altering, and so there's just a bunch of stuff that's been going on, and I'm going to just jump from point to point. The committee that advises the U.S. Treasury informed them that the U.S. dollar status at world reserve currency is slipping. So these are the biggest banks, Wall Street firms, that sort of thing, and their advice to the U.S. Treasury is the dollar is not going to be the world reserve currency much longer, it's slipping. And one of the quotes in there was something we've been saying exactly for 2 years. The idea of a world reserve currency is it is based on strength, not the best among poor choices. So that's what I've been saying for a while, is that I don't think we're going to stay the world reserve currency just because the other major currencies are bad too. It's a poor logic, it's a poor thing to fall back on, and that's what we've been doing. So now the biggest banks on Wall Street are saying the same thing. Several of the worst point falls ever happened in the last 5-6 weeks. We've seen the stock market, be incredibly volatile with huge downdrafts. Again, just a sign of volatility and a sign of crazy things happening that you might not normally expect. China is again calling for a new world reserve currency. They called the U.S. arrogant and cynical and called for international supervision over the U.S. dollar and a new stable, secure world reserve currency so that catastrophe in one country can't bring the whole world economy down. Of course, there's no real getting around that. It's just what's going to happen. But China sees it and they don't like it. Big banks are all suing each other. They have done a lot of nasty stuff, and they probably all should be sued, but it's just an ugly situation that they're all suing each other, and it just means things are going to get worse. The Bank of America this week said they're laying off 30,000 employees. Again, these big layoffs against just what happened just before 2008. The Fed's keeping rates low for 2 more years, they said. There were 3 dissents on this from the different Fed presidents, and that's the most since 1992. 2 of the presidents, Plosser and Fisher, said the Fed is now supporting the stock market and they should not be in this business. My question is, where have they been? Bernanke's been bragging everywhere for at least a year about the fact that he's pushing the stock market up. So that's been the only thing he's accomplished. The problem with that is, yes, he's accomplished that, but as soon as another round of QE ends, the stock market falls right back to where it was before he did anything. But the commodities that also rose with the stock market tend to stay a lot higher than the stock market. They don't crash down quite as much. So the bad effects are more permanent. The good effects are very transitory. So it's a stupid game that Bernanke's playing, and a couple of the Fed presidents are noticing this, or at least belatedly. And but they still don't have the power. Bernanke still has enough power to do what he wants to do. More U.S. budget debates are coming, so this could be huge. We had a big debt ceiling issue last month. Maybe it was the end of July, early August, I don't remember. But it, in the end, no one really felt like winners because the Tea Party people were sent in to reduce spending. That's what the American people wanted. They want a landslide victory. But they get in here and they didn't reduce spending 1 penny. That's the way it's spun in the media, but all they did was slow the rate of growth. That doesn't help this country at all. We'll never get out to those projections 10 years from now that they're talking about, $1 billion here, $1 billion there, of decreases in the rate of growth. So the Tea Party, even though the media talked about them being the winners of the whole deal, they were losers. So now they come home and their people are upset, and they say, well, we sent you to Washington to cut spending, not to increase spending, but all you did was increase spending. Well, now we have 2 more budget battles that are going to be coming up soon, and I think that could get ugly again, and maybe uglier, because people are going to dig their heels in longer and say, well, wait a minute, no, the American people said they wanted this. Why are we losing? This is what the American people want. So let me tell you the 2 points. We've been operating in this country without a budget for a long time. I think it's like 2 years. They keep passing resolutions to extend the budget for temporarily without passing a real budget. This next extension ends at the end of this month on September 30th, so they're going to have to agree to something. So they might just pass another extension resolution, or it might become an issue again. The other thing is they've got to nail down this last crisis. All they did was kind of push it off, and they created a super Congress. And in Washington, they think that if you create another bureaucracy, you solve something. In reality, you've just made more problems. But there's 2 opportunities there for calamity. We'll see what happens. And maybe that neither of them is an issue, but it's certainly a potential issue. That's it for the first video. Again, if you haven't seen The Coming Storm, I really recommend it. Thank you for watching this video. God bless you.